Hello and welcome. I thought I would try my hand at doing a reading vlog and just like what I'm reading this week. So that's what this is going to be, and also give you a little insight into my life a bit more. So first, I'll tell you what I'm reading, and the one of the books I'm reading is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I got this from the library. I honestly didn't know much about it. I just know I've heard people talk about it and enjoy it. I know it's been made into a TV show adaptation. I went into this totally blind and I was like, what is this? So I'm about 150 pages in, and from what I've learned thus far, I believe this would be described as dystopian fiction, and we're in this world where for some reason some women can't bear their own children, and so you have these handmaids who basically go into the home, they have intercourse with the husband, have their child, and then leave, and basically repeat this over and over and go to different houses for this reason. And the story is told from the perspective of this one handmaid. I can't remember her name. It's of something like all of the handmaids have, I want to say handsmaids, but it's hand singular. But all of them have like a name that's like of something. So like of Warren, of Glenn. So the one that we're getting her perspective from, it's kind of like her life as a handmaid, but then she has like these thought flashbacks to her life before the world was like this, to what her life was like growing up as a child, and then kind of what she's experiencing in the current time. I don't really know how I feel about this thus far. It's from what we see, I can see that she was married, she had a daughter of her own, and they were trying to like escape, and she doesn't know what happened to her husband, she doesn't know what happened to her daughter. So obviously there's like the psychological impact of that when her, I guess you could say, like line of work now is having a child for someone else, or trying to at least. And then I can also see the book, it's looking at religion, because kind of their justification for living like this is supported by the Bible, but like also everyone's not allowed to read. And so it definitely gives like 1984 Animal Farm vibes for sure in that way. And then we also have like themes of women's rights and body autonomy and all of those things mixed in. Honestly, this book is very disturbing, is how I feel thus far. I typically read in the morning and the evening, and I also typically read one book at a time. But for this, I was just like, I do not want to read this before I go to sleep. So I'm enjoying it, but it was just like not something I want to be the last thing I read before I close my eyes. So with that, I picked up this book, which is a bit lighter, which is The Prince of the Skies by Antonio Iturbe. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But first of all, this cover is so pretty. Second, I got this book from the Dollar Tree. Like, I didn't even know the dollar store sold books. This is a hardback book, and it was only $1.25. Like, that was wild. So I've never heard of this author. I don't know if that's just me, but I was like, I can give it a chance for $1.25. We'll see if I like. Let's see if I like it. So, but yes. So I enjoyed the cover, and this is basically, I think you would describe it as like historical fiction, and it's looking at the life of the author of The Little Prince, Ant- Antoine de Saint-Exupery. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but it's on the cover. And So the author of The Little Prince and his life as an airplane pilot, and this is like during the 1920s when I think airplanes are just becoming like a thing, and so they're developing like mail routes, and so I think he's supposed to be a pilot um when they're like delivering mail via airplane, but it's also, and I think it's about like how when he's up in the air like flying the plane, it's like a whole nother world when all of these things are happening on the ground around the world. And so while it starts in the 1920s, I do think we're going to go and end up in World War II. And so I think it's just like the kind of juxtaposition of like when I'm on the ground, there's all this fighting, but then I go in the air and it's just like this completely different world. Anyway, that's what I think it's gonna be, but I'm very much enjoying it. I'm only about 23 pages in, and what got me with this book is like it opens and it's just so descriptive, like describing flying the plane and the feeling of that. And it was just very, it was, that's what got me to buy it, because I kind of try not to read the summary on the back of the book or on the jacket sleeve, because sometimes I feel like it gives the book away too much. And so I kind of like skim it and then I'll read like the first few paragraphs and see if it grabs me. And that's definitely what grabbed me about this book. It's very visual. Like I feel like I'm in the plane with him like while he's flying, and I think that's just so cool, and it's very like whimsical. And so I'm very much enjoying this, and I'm definitely going to be reading these like together to like lighten my mood, because this is very like just like I said, like devastating and disturbing. Like I don't think devastating is the word, but disturbing. Like this is very disturbing, and I didn't realize it was gonna be like that. And I don't. While I'm enjoying reading this, I would like to be in a happier mood, and I tend to read heavier books, and so I'm trying to balance out my reading with more happy books. And so I think that this book, The Prince of the Skies, definitely will hopefully do that for me. We'll see, because while it is heavy and I think it's going to go into like World War II, I don't think it's going to be like super like weighing me down in the same way as the Handmaid's Tale will do. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading this week. And like I said, I usually read like in the morning and before bed, so or in the evening. So I'll check in after I've done a little bit more reading. Cool. Hey, Luna. How you doing? Come, sit. Good boy. You ready? Break. Good boy. You got me, baby Cooper. Okay, hello guys. It is a new day and I have an update on my reading. So, I did read more of The Handmaid's Tale. I made it to page 234. So, I am about, I would say, 75% of the way through. And oh, two things I wanted to clear up. First, her name is Of Fred. So that's the main handmaid that we're getting the perspective from, Of Fred. And then I think I said that she had a husband. I don't actually know if they were married, but the interesting thing is the person that she was with before all of these things happened, when they first started going out, he was actually married to someone else. And so she was the mistress, the other woman. And then he eventually like left her and, you know, got with a Fred and had their daughter together. But I don't think the irony is meant to be missed. The fact that she was a mistress and handmaids are kind of like mistresses that are approved of and in the open, if you think about it, since they're like entertaining the husbands with the wives' knowledge and presence. I did want to mention that. But we have learned more about how this kind of existence came to be. And it's a little scary because you definitely can see some parallels. It's not as extreme in the real world, but you can definitely see how we in real life could get to live in an existence like this, which is so crazy to think about. So we do learn more about why this happens. And then in terms of Offred's daily life, we are seeing her kind of break the rules more. And so we are going, I think she's like, I think it's like going down a slippery slope. She is breaking the rules more, and I don't know who she can trust. Like, there are just so many people that could betray her, and then she could be taken by the eye. That's what they call, I guess, like the government or the military that's in power, the eye, EYE. And yeah, we definitely could. I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised if she gets caught. I feel like this is, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like it's going to be like a 1984 ending, like George Orwell ending, where you're just kind of like defeated. That's just how I feel like this is going to come about. But I am enjoying it. I will probably finish this today. So, yeah, that's my update on that. And then I did read a few more pages of The Prince of the Skies. And I'm not very far in it. I'm only on like page 39, but we have Antoine, and we're getting a look into his like friends group. And we're kind of at the point now where he's met kind of the love of his life, and he's having to choose between his fiance and being a pilot, because like this is at kind of the beginning of aviation, and the planes are not super reliable. They're kind of you know, they could break down in midair and then you're crashing to the ground. And so he gets into a really bad accident, and she's like, it's either me or the plane. So he says he's going to choose her, but I think it's going to end up being where he either can't keep that promise, or he's going to be forced back into flying for some reason, maybe for World War II. So we will see how that happens. We also have gotten an introduction to a new character. What's his name? Jean Mormose. I can't pronounce these French names. But Jean. And so the chapters, they kind of focus on a certain character. So some of them have focused on Jean, some have focused on Antoine, and they also are in different years. So we have the story with Antoine happening in like 1922, 1923. And then we have the story with Jean that is a few years prior, I think 1921. Yeah, 1921. And Gene is also like in the Air Force training to be a pilot. He really wants to be a pilot. He comes from, I think he comes more from humble beginnings, whereas Antoine is more of, he's like a part of high society, has a high title, but his family doesn't really have a ton of money, but they have like more money than Gene. Gene, I think, is more just like low class, I'm thinking. But anyway, so Gene is also studying to be a pilot, and it's just his experience in the Air Force. He's kind of a ladies' man. He has met this Jezebel of sorts, you could say, for the 1920s, and she's, I think, introduced him to drugs. That's what I'm thinking I think they call it like the white powder, but uh, that's kind of where we are with our introduction to him. And he's talking about like his hand shaking. So I'm sure that all of these details are going to come into play later, but we are getting introduction to them. I'm assuming that at some point the two men are going to meet and it's going to all be in the same time. I'm sure they're going to run into each other, both flying planes, right? So, um, and there would be no story if Antoine doesn't go back to flying planes. Would there be a book? So, so we're gonna see what happens there. But I'm still enjoying it, and even with the seemingly heavy topics, it's not heavy. It's still very much a light book, even with the imminent war that I know is coming. Because we know what history is now, but yeah, so I am still enjoying this. This will be probably my primary book after I finish The Handmaid's Tale. But yeah, I'm just gonna have some of my breakfast, get back to my work day, and I will give you guys an update when I finish The Handmaid's Tale. Okay, guys, so I haven't read anymore since I've last talked to you, but I'm off work and I need to run a few errands, one of which is returning a book to the library. I'm going to be returning Tales from Watership Down. Short of it, I enjoyed it. This, if you don't know, is described as a sequel to Watership Down. I didn't really view it that way, but I still did very much enjoy it. Not as good as Watership Down, but I'll talk about this more in my wrap-up video. But I'm going to be returning this, and so I thought I would take you with me. I may or may not pick up another book from the library. We'll see. Not that I need them. I have plenty of books on my bookshelf. But yeah, I'll just take you along with me, and we'll see what I find. Okay, so I finished The Handmaid's Tale. This book, how do I even feel about it? I think when I was talking to you last, I was telling you how she was starting to like break some rules, and I don't know, I didn't feel like, who can you trust? So she definitely gets caught for some of the things that she's doing. But I will say that I did find the book less like disturbing to read when she was breaking the rules, because I felt like in her own like passive way, she was like fighting back because she was making like a decision for herself versus having no choice, I think Atwood did a great job of writing this. When I didn't know anything about this book going in, but I think she is like, it's like peeling an onion, and it's like with each layer you're getting a little bit more understanding of this world, but you still don't have full clarity because you you have more questions. And the book actually ends on a cliffhanger, so you don't actually know like fully what happens. The way she wrote this was so good. I wasn't happy with the pacing in the beginning, but I think it was the perfect pacing for this book. Yeah, I still don't have like my full thoughts. I'll try to have more like cohesive thoughts in my wrap up when I talk about this, but I thought it was a good book. I'm not sure if I want to hop right into the next book, which is Testaments, because I'm just not sure if I feel like being in this mood. I'm even not even sure what I want to read right now. Like, I might just take a day and not read anything. But that's just like the real of reading. Like, sometimes I'm definitely a mood reader, but I do find it hard to, and I think that's because like it just depends on how I'm feeling, but also it depends on how, you don't know how a book is going to affect you or how it's gonna come across. So I could read this and I might, I'm reading The Prince of the Skies, but this might put me in a completely different mood and I may want to read a completely different type of book, Or I might just want to take a day off because I just need to to reset, So with that, I will probably not finish The Prince of Skies in this vlog, but I do plan on finishing it this month and I will give you an update in my wrap up. But of this one, I am on page 70 of this point, and I told you that Antoine was having to pick between like flying and his girl, and he picks his girl, and I thought he wasn't gonna be able to do it. Tell me my girl is ghosting him. She is ghosting him, and he is going through the time right now. And so I just feel so bad for him. But yeah, that's kind of where he is. And then Jean's story. I think I told you his story is taking place a few years earlier, but he met someone. She gave him a little taste of that white powder, and I told you he was starting to have the shakes, and he definitely it's like 2 years in the future now at this point, and he definitely is a full-on, he's like an addict, and I think he's trying to quit, but he's definitely having withdrawal. He's definitely going through withdrawal. And so he went to Syria to fly. Like they sent him to Syria, where he had the choice to go to Syria to fly. He becomes one of like the youngest um sergeants, and he is always working, and he uses the cocaine to keep him going. But then he's like, I can stop when I want, and he tries to stop, but then he just it's not working. And he ends up like passing out, and so now they're gonna send him like back to Paris, and I'm assuming like they're gonna meet. Like I'm just waiting for when Antoine and Jean are gonna meet. So I am still enjoying this, but like I said, I might just take a day and I'll see if I um and pick this back up, and then continue on with my reading for the month. But I will also share some of the books I got from the library. Not that I needed any, because I have plenty of my own books to read, but I don't know, I just can't like go into the library and not browse. It's like being a kid in a candy store, but everything is free. So how can I not? Anyway, I did pick up, I did see The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. So I did pick this up, but like I said, I'm not sure if I want to hop back into this. Yeah, I don't know if I'm in, I kind of just want something happier. So I don't feel like this is going to be happy. So we'll see if I hop back into this. But then I got a few other books that have been on my reading list for a while. I got As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. I don't fully know what this is about. I think somebody has to like get somebody back from like trying to bury somebody in Mississippi. Is that what this one was? When you like browse in and you read a lot of books, I may be mixing that up with something else I saw. But yeah, no, this was it. It says that the story revolves around a grim yet darkly humorous pilgrimage as Addie Bundren's family sets out to fulfill her last wish to be buried in her native Jefferson, Mississippi. So yeah, I read the first few sentences, and it seems like my kind of book. It does seem like a summer book, and summer is coming to an end, but we'll see. It's not super long. It's only 200 and something pages, but we'll see if I get to this. And then I got The Giver. This is a classic. I'm a big classics person, so these are both I think would be considered classics. And I know this is I don't actually know what this is about. I kind of don't want to. But this was in the children's section, so I feel like it should be like an easy read. Like it shouldn't take too much mental space since it's a children's book. But I do think you'll have like good morals and lessons, and I'm thinking this one will be like one where you're like introspective, but it's still positive. So I thought maybe this could balance out with some of the other heavier books I'm planning on reading. But again, I may not read any of these books. I may read some of these books because I am a mood reader. But yes, so I think that's going to be the end of the video. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed my first vlog. If there is anything else you wanted to see, or if you have any tips or anything like that for me, please let me know. But yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.